The forbidden face. In the distant galaxy of Valtoria, there lived an alien princess whose beauty was known across the universe. Her name was Lyra, and she was not like any other being. There was one rule that everyone in her kingdom followed. No one, not even the bravest warrior, could ever see her face. The stories surrounding her were told in hushed tones. People spoke of how those who had tried to see the princess's true form never lived to tell the tale. It was said that her face was so powerful, so otherworldly, that it could break the mind of anyone who dared to look. But there was one human who didn't believe in these stories. His name was Ethan, and he had traveled far across the stars to visit Valtoria. He had heard the legends of the princess's beauty, but he wasn't afraid. He was curious. He didn't believe that anyone could be so terrifying just because of their appearance. To him, it seemed like a challenge, something that no one had dared to face, and that intrigued him even more. Ethan was a traveler, someone who had visited countless planets, met strange creatures, and survived many dangers. But none of that compared to the mystery of Princess Lyra. He had heard about her from the moment he landed on Valtoria, and the stories made him more eager to meet her. He was staying at a small inn in the capital city when he first saw her. It wasn't in person, but in a grand hall where the people of Valtoria gathered to celebrate their traditions. The princess stood high on a balcony, her figure hidden beneath layers of dark, shimmering cloth. Her face was covered by a veil, but even from a distance, Ethan could feel the presence of power radiating from her. The crowd below her was silent, almost reverent. They didn't look up at her. They kept their heads lowered in respect. It was a rule, they said. No one should look directly at the princess. But Ethan's gaze was different. His eyes met the veil that covered her face, and for the first time in his life, he felt an odd pull, a magnetic force that made him want to know more. Why does everyone follow this rule? Ethan asked one of the locals, a woman who had been standing beside him. Why can't anyone see her face? The woman turned to him, her expression a mix of fear and confusion. You don't understand. The princess's face is a curse. No one who has seen it has lived to speak of it. She's different, and she's been hidden away for a reason. Ethan didn't know what to make of her words. He didn't believe in curses or superstitions. He was a man of logic, not of fear, and yet he couldn't shake the feeling that the princess held a secret, a truth that no one had ever dared to uncover. Over the next few days, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Lyra. He spent his time exploring the city, but his mind was always on her. He had to know what she looked like. What was so powerful about her face? What made her different from anyone else he had met in his travels? The more he thought about it, the more he realized that the veil was not just a physical barrier, it was a symbol of fear, control, and mystery. And that only made Ethan more determined. He would find a way to see her face. His curiosity burned inside him like a fire that couldn't be put out. He couldn't let the stories control him. He wasn't afraid. He wanted to understand. What was the princess hiding, and why had no one ever dared to challenge the rules of Valtoria? One evening, as the sun set behind the tall towers of the palace, Ethan found himself standing at the gates of the royal palace. He wasn't sure what he was going to do, but the idea of just walking away and forgetting about the princess seemed impossible. I have to know, he whispered to himself, clenching his fists. I have to see her face. With a deep breath, Ethan stepped forward, past the guards and into the inner courtyard of the palace. The palace was silent, the air heavy with secrets. The walls seemed to watch him, and every step he took echoed. Through the vast halls, he finally reached a large door that led into a grand hall, where he knew the princess would appear soon. The guards were standing at attention, their eyes sharp, but they didn't stop him. They didn't question him as he walked forward, his heart pounding in his chest. As he reached the center of the hall, he looked up, and there she was, Princess Lyra stood at the balcony, as she always did, her back to him, her veil flowing like a shadow in the light. The moment felt like something out of a dream. Ethan's eyes were locked on her, and his heart raced. He took a step forward, ready to do what no one else had dared to do. He was going to see the face of the princess. But just as he took another step, something unexpected happened. Lyra turned her head slightly, as if she sensed his presence. Their eyes met, though she still wore her veil. In that moment, Ethan felt a rush of emotions he couldn't explain. Fear, curiosity, awe. The princess's gaze held him in place. He couldn't move. He had no words. He only stood there, staring at her, waiting for her to make the next move. And then, for the first time, she spoke. "You seek something, human," she said in a voice that was both soft and powerful. "But be careful what you wish for." A dangerous curiosity. Ethan couldn't sleep that night. The moment Lyra spoke to him kept echoing in his mind. Be careful what you wish for. What had she meant? He had only wanted to see her face, to understand the mystery that had consumed him since his arrival on Valtoria. But now, her words felt like a warning one that came from deep within the heart of someone who had been trapped by her own secrets. He tossed and turned on his bed, unable to shake the feeling that something was about to happen, something he couldn't control. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that he wasn't just curious anymore. He was obsessed. Ethan knew he had to learn more. He had seen the princess from a distance, but the stories he had heard, the rumors, all pointed to one truth. No one had ever been allowed to truly know her, and those who had tried, they were never the same. But for Ethan, that only fueled his determination. What was so powerful about Lyra's face that it could break the mind of anyone who saw it? The next morning, he set out again. He walked through the busy streets of the capital city, trying to learn everything he could. He asked questions, seeking out old locals, hoping someone might reveal a piece of information that would explain the princess's hidden life. But every answer was the same. It's forbidden. No one knew the truth, or they were too afraid to speak of it. He couldn't understand it. He had faced danger before, and he wasn't afraid of it. He had crossed galaxies, survived storms of cosmic radiation, and fought off creatures from distant worlds. But this was different. This was about a power he didn't understand. Ethan's search led him to a small, quiet library on the edge of the city. Inside, the shelves were filled with ancient scrolls and books, some of them so old they looked like they might fall apart at any moment. The library was nearly empty, with only a few scholars scattered about, reading in silence. Ethan approached. The librarian, an elderly woman who had seen more years than he could count. "Excuse me," he asked politely. "I'm looking for any records on Princess Lyra. Anything that could explain why she hides her face." The librarian looked at him with tired eyes, then glanced around the room as if to make sure no one was listening. She leaned forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're not the first to ask about her," she said slowly. "But you must understand, the princess is not like others. The stories of her face are not mere superstition. There is something about her, something beyond our understanding, but only a few know the truth, and they guard it with their lives." Curiosity flared. What do you mean? What truth? The librarian hesitated for a moment, her fingers trembling slightly as she traced the edge of the scroll she was reading. Her face, it's a reflection of the power she holds. The power that has kept her people safe for centuries. But it's also a curse. There are those who believe if her face is seen, the balance of the universe will be shattered. Ethan's heart raced. But why can't someone just ... look at her? The librarian's eyes darkened. Because the princess's face is not just a face. It's the source of her power. And power like that ... It can destroy everything. The words hit Ethan hard. He had never imagined that the truth about Lyra could be so complicated, so dangerous. But the more he learned, the more he wanted to understand. The fear in the librarian's eyes only made him more determined to find out what lay hidden behind the veil. Where can I find more? Ethan asked urgently, his voice barely a whisper now. The librarian didn't respond immediately. She stared at him for a long moment, as if weighing the consequences of her next words. Finally, she spoke. There's an old temple deep within. The mountains of Valtoria, she said, her voice low. It holds the answers you seek. But be warned, many who have gone there have never returned. The temple is not just a place of knowledge, it is a place of power. Ethan didn't hesitate. He knew what he had to do. The Princess Lyra had told him to be careful, but he wasn't the kind to be easily scared. Curiosity, the need to know, burned inside him. He had come to Valtoria to seek the truth, and he wouldn't stop until he found it. That afternoon, Ethan made his way toward the mountains. The journey would be long and difficult, but he didn't care. He had to see for himself what lay at the heart of this mystery. And maybe, just maybe, he would discover what no one else had dared to know. The mountain paths were narrow and steep, winding through dense forests and across rocky cliffs. The air grew thinner as he ascended, and the temperature dropped. But he pressed on, determined to find the temple and uncover the truth. As night began to fall, Ethan finally reached the entrance of the ancient temple. The massive stone door loomed before him, covered in strange symbols and carvings. It looked as though it hadn't been opened in centuries. He took a deep breath and pushed the door open, feeling the weight of history press down on him. Inside, the temple was dark and silent. The walls were covered in old writings, and in the center stood a pedestal, bathed in the glow of a faint, mysterious light. Ethan stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. He had come so far, and now the truth was within his reach. But little did he know, the truth he was about to uncover would change everything. The first glimpse Ethan stepped into the temple, the cold stone beneath his boots echoing through the silent hall. The air was thick with the scent of age and forgotten secrets, a musty weight that seemed to fill every corner of the massive chamber. His torch flickered in the stillness, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Ancient carvings and strange symbols stretched across the stone, telling tales of a civilization long gone. It was as if the temple itself was alive with knowledge that only the most daring would seek. The further Ethan ventured into the temple, the more he felt like an intruder, but the need to understand, to uncover the mystery of Princess Lyra pushed him forward. His heart pounded with each step, and his breath quickened in anticipation. The temple, ancient and full of power, seemed to pull him in, guiding him toward something, toward the answers he desperately sought. At the end of the vast hall stood a large, ornate door, unlike any Ethan had ever seen. It was made of dark wood, covered in intricate carvings that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. As he approached, a strange feeling washed over him. It was as if the door recognized his presence, as if it had been waiting for him. Without hesitation, Ethan reached for the door and slowly pushed it open. The creaking sound seemed deafening in the stillness, but it was nothing compared to the thunderous rush of his own heartbeat. Inside, the room was lit by a soft, golden light that seemed to come from nowhere, bathing the space in a warm, almost ethereal glow. At the center of the room stood a pedestal, atop which rested a delicate, ancient mirror. The glass was clouded with time, but the surface still held a faint, captivating gleam. Ethan stepped forward, drawn to the mirror. He couldn't explain why, but something inside him urged him to look closer. His fingers brushed against the smooth stone of the pedestal, his mind racing. This was it, the key to the mystery of Princess Lyra. He had come all this way, through dangerous terrain and uncertain paths, to find this mirror, and now it was calling to him. As he stood before it, Ethan felt the weight of history pressing down on him. The mirror seemed to pulse with energy, as if it was waiting for him to make the next move. He took a deep breath and, with a steady hand, reached forward and touched the glass. The moment his fingers made contact, the world around him seemed to blur. The ground beneath him trembled, and the air grew heavy, charged with energy. Ethan stumbled backward, his heart racing. The mirror began to glow brighter, its surface rippling like water, as if it was alive, responding to his touch. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the light faded and the room fell silent again. But something had changed. Ethan looked up, his breath caught in his chest. Standing before him, illuminated by the faint light of the mirror, was Princess Lyra. She was standing in the center of the room, her back to him. Her long, flowing cloak shimmered with an otherworldly beauty, and her veil, which had once concealed her face, now hung loosely at her sides. For the first time, Ethan saw her completely. The veil that had always hidden her face, the veil that had kept so many from knowing the truth, was gone. His breath caught in his throat. She was beautiful, more beautiful than he had ever imagined. Her skin was pale, glowing faintly in the golden light, as though she was a creature of the stars. Her features were delicate and sharp, with high cheekbones and full lips that seemed to carry a silent, tragic story. Her hair, dark and flowing, framed her face like a waterfall of night, but it was her eyes that took his breath away. Her eyes were a deep, glowing violet, the color of distant stars. They seemed to hold the weight of centuries, the wisdom of an entire race. Her gaze was not one of fear or hatred, but one of sorrow that no one had ever truly seen, not even the people of her own world. Ethan stood frozen, unable to look away. The stories, the legends, none of them had prepared him for this. He had expected something dark, something terrifying, but what he saw before him was a sorrowful beauty beyond anything he could comprehend. Princess Lyra's lips parted, and for the first time, she spoke to him with her face fully exposed. You shouldn't have come here, she said, her voice soft but filled with an unmistakable authority. You've seen the truth, and now there is no turning back. Ethan's heart raced. He had never imagined that one simple action touching the mirror would lead him to this moment. Standing before the princess, his mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. But one thing was clear. He had crossed a line that no one else had dared to cross. I had to know, Ethan replied, his voice trembling. I couldn't stop myself. Eyes softened as she stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. Now you know, she said quietly, but you will never be the same. and neither will I." The words hung in the air, thick with meaning. Ethan didn't understand everything yet, but he knew this was just the beginning. The truth he had uncovered had changed everything, and now he was tied to it, tied to her, to the secrets that had been hidden for so long. As Lyra's gaze never left his, Ethan felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. But deep inside, he knew the danger wasn't over. In fact, it had only just begun. The hidden truth, the silence that followed, felt like an eternity. Ethan stood motionless, staring into Princess Lyra's eyes, unable to move or speak. The mirror had shown him more than he had ever hoped to see. But now, standing before Lyra, in the temple, a new question lingered in his mind. What was the true cost of seeing her face? Lyra took a step back, her expression unreadable. Her violet eyes never left him, but there was a deep sadness in them, as if she had seen something in his eyes that he hadn't yet recognized in himself. "I warned you," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "But now you know, and once the truth is known, it can never be forgotten." Ethan shook his head, still trying to comprehend everything. "What truth? What's so dangerous about seeing your face?" he asked, his voice shaking slightly. The weight of the situation began to dawn on him. There was more to this than just curiosity. He had crossed a line, and he had a sinking feeling that nothing would ever be the same. Lyra sighed and turned away, walking to the edge of the room where the faint light of the mirror cast long shadows. "You think I am just a princess hiding her face from the world," she said, her voice distant. "But that's not the truth. My face is not just a symbol of beauty, it is a symbol of power." Ethan's heart raced as he stepped forward, drawn to her power. "What do you mean? What kind of power could your face possibly hold?" Lyra turned slowly, her expression full of sorrow and burden. "My face holds the key to the safety of my people, to the very balance of our world. If the wrong person sees it, everything could fall apart. Not just my kingdom, but everything we know, everything we've worked to protect." Ethan couldn't understand. He had heard the stories, the warnings, but hearing it from her, seeing the pain in her eyes, made everything feel real in a way he hadn't imagined. "I don't understand," he said softly. "How could a face be that powerful?" Lyra stepped closer, her movements slow, deliberate. "It's not just my face. It's the power I was born with, the power that my people have protected for centuries. When I was young, I was told stories about it. The face I carry is not just a mark of beauty, but a mark of the ancient gods who created my kind. When they sealed the power of our race, they placed it within my bloodline, within me." She paused, as if weighing how much to say before continuing. "But they also cursed us. The power is too strong, too dangerous for anyone to control. That's why I wear the veil, why no one is allowed to see me fully. If anyone at all gazes upon my face and unlocks its power, the consequences would be catastrophic. The fabric of reality itself could unravel." Ethan felt a chill run through him. He had thought that all he had uncovered was a simple mystery. But now he understood. It wasn't just curiosity that had brought him here. He had unknowingly opened a door that should never have been opened. Lyra's voice softened, as if she, too, was burdened by the weight of her words. "That's why I must hide. It's not that I want to. I long to show the world who I truly am, but I cannot. My face is the key to my people's destruction if it falls into the wrong hands." Ethan's mind raced as he tried to process what she had just revealed. "So, you've been trapped, hiding behind the veil your entire life because of a curse?" he asked, the realization sinking in. "You never had a choice." Lyra nodded, her eyes downcast. "No, and neither did my people. They've lived in fear of what I carry. The power is both a blessing and a curse. I've been told my entire life that I must never let anyone see me for who I truly am. But you, ... you were different. You came here with no fear, no expectations. You didn't care about the stories. You just wanted to see the truth. And now, I fear it's too late." Ethan swallowed hard. He could feel the weight of what he had done, what he had unlocked. But in the depth of Lyra's eyes, he saw something else, something fragile, something human. He couldn't walk away. From this, he had already seen too much. There was no turning back. "What happens now?" he asked quietly. "What do we do?" Lyra's gaze hardened, and her voice took on a tone of resolve. "Now we prepare for what's coming." Ethan looked at her, confused. "What do you mean, what's coming?" She stepped back, the light from the mirror casting strange, shifting shadows across her face. "There are those who have been waiting for this moment. The moment when my face would be seen, the moment when the power within me would be awakened. And now that it has been, they will come. They will try to take what I have, what I carry." Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. "Who are they? What do they want with you?" "They are the guardians of the Dark Pact," Lyra said, her voice a low whisper. "An ancient order that believes they can control the power within me. They have been hunting me for centuries, biding their time. Now they know that the power is within reach, and they will stop at nothing to seize it." Ethan's mind raced. He had thought this was about curiosity, about uncovering a mystery. But now he realized he had become a part of something far bigger, something far more dangerous than he could have ever imagined. "We need to act quickly," Lyra said, her voice now filled with urgency. "They will come for me, and they will come for you, too. You have seen what no one else has. You are tied to this, whether you like it or not. And if we don't stop them, everything will be lost." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of the decision on his shoulders. "Then let's stop them, together." The consequence of knowing the temple felt colder now, the weight of Lyra's revelation hanging in the air like a storm ready to break. Ethan stood beside her, his heart racing as the truth sank in. The guardians of the Dark Pact, the ancient order that had been hunting Lyra for centuries. And now, with the power within her exposed, they would stop at nothing to claim it. Ethan could feel the pull of the unknown, the responsibility of knowing the truth, of becoming entangled in a conflict that was far beyond his understanding. He had come to Valtoria as a simple traveler, curious about the princess's hidden face. Now he was part of something much darker, much bigger than he could have imagined. "I never wanted this," Lyra whispered, her voice full of regret. "I didn't want anyone to know. But now that you've seen me, the power within me has been awakened. There's no going back." Ethan turned to face her, his expression serious. "We can't just stand here and wait for them to come. We've to have to do something." Lyra's eyes met his, her gaze filled with both fear and resolve. "I've been hiding from them for so long, but now they know I'm vulnerable, and they'll come for me, for both of us. They'll destroy anyone who gets in their way." Ethan clenched his fists, his mind racing. He had traveled across galaxies, faced countless dangers, but none of that had prepared him for this. He had uncovered the truth behind Princess Lyra's face, and now he had to face the consequences of that discovery. "We need to prepare," he said, his voice steady. We need to find a way to stop them before they can do any more damage. Lyra nodded, her expression darkening. The Guardians are powerful. They don't just want to take me, they want to control the power inside me. And if they succeed, they'll be able to rule this galaxy. Everything we've fought for, everything my people have built, will fall under their control. Ethan felt a chill run through him. The stakes were higher than he had ever imagined. This wasn't just about curiosity anymore. It was about survival, about stopping a dark force that threatened the very fabric of the universe. We can't let them win, Ethan said firmly. But how do we fight them? How do we stop them from taking the power you carry? Lyra's eyes flickered with uncertainty. I don't know, she admitted. I've spent my entire life hiding from them. But now, with the power awakened, they will come for me faster than I can prepare. I don't have the strength to fight them alone, and if I try to run, they'll find me. Ethan took a step closer to her. Then we fight together, he said. We won't let them take you. We won't let them destroy everything. Lyra looked at him, her expression softening. You're brave, but you don't understand. You're involved now. You've seen me. You've seen the truth. They'll come after you too. They'll use you against me. Ethan shook his head. I'm not afraid. I've been through worse. And I'm not leaving you to face them alone. We'll find a way. Lyra seemed to hesitate for a moment before nodding. Maybe you're right. Maybe together we can stand a chance. But we need to move quickly. We can't wait for them to come to us. I'll take you to my people. They'll know what to do. But we have to leave now. With no time to waste, they hurried through the dark halls of the temple, the weight of their mission pressing heavily on their shoulders. As they emerged into the open air, the night was still and quiet to quiet. The city of Valtoria stretched out before them, peaceful and unaware of the danger that loomed. We can't go through the city, Lyra said urgently. The Guardians have spies everywhere. If they see us, we'll be caught before we even reach safety. Ethan nodded, his mind already working. Then we'll take the long way, through the wilderness. It'll be harder, but it'll give us a chance to stay hidden. They set off, moving swiftly through the shadowed paths outside. The city, the weight of their mission heavy on their hearts. The stars above twinkled softly, as if watching over them, but there was no peace in the sky tonight. The calmness of the night only heightened the tension in the air. Lyra was right, they had no time to waste. The Guardians were coming, and they had no idea just how close they already were. As they made their way through the forest, Ethan's thoughts were filled with uncertainty. He had never faced anything like this before. The idea of a powerful force that could reshape the galaxy, a force that Lyra carried within her, was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. The power to change everything was now within his reach, but it was a power that could just as easily destroy them all. Lyra, Ethan said, breaking the silence. What happens if they catch us? What if they take you? Lyra didn't answer immediately, her gaze focused ahead, as if searching for something in the distance. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. If they catch me, it's over. They'll use me to control everything. They'll twist my power to their will, and everything I've fought for will be destroyed. Ethan's jaw tightened. Then we won't let that happen. We'll stop them, no matter what it takes. Lyra looked at him then, her eyes full of something he couldn't quite name: hope, fear, or perhaps both. I don't know if we can, Ethan, but we have to try. As they continued through the dark wilderness, Ethan knew one thing for certain. The fight ahead would be the most dangerous thing he had ever faced. The power to change the future was now in their hands, and with it, the responsibility to protect everything they held dear. And as the first signs of dawn broke over the horizon, Ethan could only hope they weren't too late. The ultimate choice. The sun had barely risen when Ethan and Lyra arrived at the outskirts of the hidden village, the place where Lyra's people would be waiting. The world around them was still shrouded in morning mist, the air crisp and cool. But there was no peace in the dawn light, no sense of hope. Lyra's words echoed in Ethan's mind, a constant reminder of the danger that lurked just behind them. The Guardians were coming, and they would not stop until they had what they wanted. As they walked deeper into the dense forest, the sounds of the city behind them faded away. The quiet was unnerving, as though the world itself was holding its breath. Lyra moved ahead with an air of purpose, but her shoulders were tense, as though every step she took brought her closer to something she couldn't control. Ethan couldn't help but notice the way Lyra's expression seemed to harden. The closer they got to the village, he had thought she would be relieved to be near her people, but instead she seemed more guarded than ever. "Lyra, what's wrong?" Ethan asked, his voice filled with concern. "We're almost there. You're safe now." She stopped and turned to face him, her violet eyes piercing through him as though she could see every thought in his mind. "No, Ethan, we're not safe. Not yet. The Guardians have eyes everywhere, even in the most remote places. If they know we're here, they'll burn this place to the ground." Ethan frowned, his heart heavy with the weight of what she had just said. "Then what do we do? We can't just keep running forever." Lyra's gaze softened for a moment. "I wish it were that simple. The truth is, my people, they don't have the power to fight the Guardians. Not anymore. We've been hiding for so long, building walls between us and the rest of the galaxy. But now it's different. The Guardians won't stop until they have me, and they'll take everything with them." Ethan's mind raced. Then what choice do we have? We can't just give up. We have to fight. Lyra shook her head. "We can't fight them, Ethan. Not directly. They're too strong. I don't have the strength to face them. I'm the key to everything, but I'm also the key to their victory if they get control of me. I can't let that happen." Ethan's stomach twisted. He had never seen Lyra so vulnerable before. The princess who had once seemed so powerful, so unshakable, was now standing before him, lost and uncertain. But even in her vulnerability, he could see the strength in her eyes. She was a leader, a protector, and she was determined to do whatever it took to keep her people safe, even if it meant sacrificing herself. "You don't have to do this alone," Ethan said, stepping closer. "We're in this together. We'll figure something out. We can fight back. We can." "No," Lyra interrupted, her voice firm. "You don't understand. The only way to stop the Guardians is for me to make the ultimate choice. A choice that will change everything." Ethan's heart sank. "What are you talking about? What choice?" Lyra looked at him with a mixture of sadness and resolve. "The power inside me's too dangerous for anyone to control. The only way to ensure the Guardians don't win is for me to seal that power away forever. But in doing so, I'll lose everything. I'll lose myself, my people, everything I've ever known." Ethan's breath caught in his throat. "You want to give up your power after everything?" Lyra nodded, her expression resolute. "I don't have a choice. If I don't, the Guardians will use me to destroy everything. My power is too dangerous for anyone to wield, especially for someone like them." Ethan felt the weight of her words. He understood what she was saying. He understood the sacrifice she was willing to make. But he also knew that she was more than just her power. She was more than the princess, more than the symbol of an entire race. She was someone he had come to care about deeply, and he couldn't bear the thought of her giving up everything for the sake of saving others. Lyra, there has to be another way, he pleaded. We can find a way to defeat the Guardians without you giving up everything. You don't have to make that choice. But Lyra's gaze softened, and she reached out to place a hand on his shoulder. I've lived my life in fear of what I carry. I've kept it hidden, kept it away from the world, because I was afraid of what might happen if it was exposed. But now, Ethan, I see that the only way forward is to let go, to release the power that has controlled me my entire life. It's the only way to ensure that no one else will suffer because of it. Ethan stared at her, the weight of the decision crashing down on him. He didn't want to lose her. He didn't want her to make that sacrifice. But he could see the determination in her eyes. She was ready to do what she had to save everything she had ever known, if it meant sacrificing herself. You're not alone, Ethan said softly. You don't have to do this alone. But Lyra smiled. Faintly, I've never been alone, Ethan. I've always had my people, my purpose. And now I'll have you. Ethan felt a pang in his chest at her words. He had known that this journey would be dangerous, but he hadn't anticipated it would lead to this, the ultimate sacrifice. Lyra was offering to give up everything to save her people, to save the universe from the dangerous power inside her, and he was powerless to stop it. Lyra, Ethan said quietly, there has to be another way. I won't let you sacrifice yourself. Lyra looked at him, her gaze steady. Sometimes, Ethan, the hardest choices are the ones we must make for the greater good. This is my choice, and it's the only way. Ethan wanted to argue, to tell her that she was wrong, but he knew she was right. The weight of the decision was too great, and Lyra's heart was set. In this moment, the fate of their worlds hung in the balance, and only one person could make the ultimate choice. The question now was, would she be able to live with the consequences of that choice? The final bond, the quiet that surrounded them, felt suffocating. Ethan and Lyra stood together in the heart of the forest, where the air was thick with the weight of the decisions yet to be made. Lyra's resolve was unshakable, but Ethan could feel the tension in the air, the fragile balance between hope and despair. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the ground, Ethan looked at Lyra one last time. She had made her choice, and now it was time for them to face the consequences. But no matter how many times he told himself he understood, a part of him couldn't accept it. He couldn't accept that Lyra would sacrifice herself, her power, her life just to protect the universe from the darkness that sought to control her. You don't have to do this, Ethan said again, his voice thick with emotion. We can still find another way. I won't let you go through with this. We'll fight together. We'll beat the Guardians. Lyra's gaze softened as she reached out and touched his arm. You've done more for me than anyone ever could. Ethan, you've shown me that there is still hope. Hope for the future. Hope for my people. But I've lived with this power inside me for so long. I've seen the destruction it can cause. The only way to stop it is to lock it away forever. Ethan swallowed hard, the weight of her words settling heavily on his chest. He had spent every moment of this journey trying to protect her, to fight alongside her. But now, it felt as though he was standing on the edge of something irreversible. I won't let you sacrifice yourself alone, he said, his voice breaking. We'll find a way to do this together. There has to be another way. Lyra's eyes glistened with unshed tears, but she gave him a small, sad smile. You've already done more than anyone could ask for. You've shown me the strength of human courage, of love, and of selflessness. But there's one thing you don't understand. What's that? Ethan asked, his heart in his throat. Lyra turned away from him, her face reflecting the deep conflict inside her. The power inside me is not just a gift, it's a curse. The moment I sealed it away, I'll lose everything. I'll lose the part of me that makes me who I am. But it's a sacrifice I must make. For my people. For you. For the future. Ethan took a step forward, reaching out to her. Lyra, don't do this. You don't have to lose yourself. There has to be another way to stop the Guardians, to stop the power from consuming you. She turned back to him, her gaze fierce, yet full of sorrow. The power is a part of me. I've tried to live with it, to control it, but it's too dangerous. The moment I unleash it again, there will be no stopping it. And if the Guardians get their hands on it, they will control everything. Ethan's heart shattered as he saw the fear in her eyes. He understood now it wasn't just about the power. It was about the person she had become, the princess, who would spend her life hiding behind a veil of secrets. It was about her giving everything she had, her strength, her future, so that others could live. I love you, Ethan whispered, his voice barely audible. I don't want you to do this alone. For the first time, Lyra's expression softened, her features trembling with emotion. You've already given me so much, Ethan. You've shown me a world where I don't have to hide, where I can be more than just a symbol of power. But now I must protect that world, even if it means losing myself in the process. Ethan took her hands in his fingers trembling as he held them. I don't know if I can let you do this. You mean too much to me. Lyra's eyes filled with tears, and for a moment she closed her eyes as if gathering strength. Ethan, you've taught me that there is more to life than power. There is love, there is hope, and I know now that those are the things worth fighting for. He held her close, feeling the weight of her sacrifice in his arms. I'll never forget you. No matter what happens, I'll carry you with me. They stood together for a long moment, silent, their hearts beating in unison. It was a moment, suspended in time, where the world outside didn't matter. In this moment, there was no more fear, no more power, no more guardians. There was only them together. Finally, Lyra took a deep breath and stepped away from him, her face determined. It's time. Ethan nodded, his heart heavy with the knowledge of what was to come. He didn't want to let go. He didn't want to lose her, but he knew that this was her choice, and he would stand by her to the end. They walked hand in hand toward the clearing, where the final ritual would take place. As they reached the center, Lyra knelt before the ancient stone altar, and Ethan stood beside her, ready to support her in any way he could. Are you ready? He asked quietly, his voice full of emotion. Lyra looked up at him, her eyes filled with both sorrow and resolve. I have to do this, for you, for my people, for the universe. Ethan nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. I am with you, always. As the stars began to twinkle above them, Lyra placed her hands on the ancient symbols carved into the stone, and a wave of energy surged through the air. The power inside her began to stir, and the ground beneath them shook. Ethan watched in awe as Lyra's form began to glow with a soft, golden light. It was a light that seemed to carry all the hope and power of her people. And as the energy grew stronger, the air around them filled with a strange calmness. In that moment, Lyra closed her eyes, and Ethan knew this was it. This was the final bond between them, the moment where everything would change. And as the light enveloped them both, Ethan held on tightly, knowing that no matter what happened, he would never forget the princess who had shown him the true meaning of love, sacrifice, and hope.